We meet again at last. The circle is now complete.
What's the world coming to?
Well, you got a problem with what I did, Anthony?
Oh, no. Hey, no.
Fucking rat anyways. Whole family's all rats. Would have grew up to be a rat.
Stupid bastard. I can't fucking believe it.
Gee, I'm real sorry your mom blew up, Ricky.
Now you're gonna dig the fucking thing. You're gonna dig the hole. You're gonna do it. I got no fucking line. You're gonna do it.
Yes, I'll take the fucking hole. I don't give a fuck.
I realized that what was living behind that boy's eyes was pure and simply evil.
Jesus Christ. Mister, you okay in there?
Put civilian coffins around here someplace.
Have you any idea what the cost of your actions is? What their effect might be? Or you to give them hope? What do you give them? We give them happiness. And they give us authority. Groovy.
Welcome back to another episode of the Cinephellas Podcast. I'm Henry Hill, and on today's episode number 98, I spoke with director John Suits to talk about his new film, Breach, which stars Bruce Willis and Thomas Jane. Breach hits theaters, video on demand, and digital on December 18th. I hope you all enjoy our conversation, and thanks for listening. John, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Was it always your dream to be a director? How did you get started in the movie-making business?
That's a great question. I think, I always wanted to be involved in film, but I think thinking about being a director, it felt like I wasn't sure if that was obtainable. So starting out, I wanted to be an editor, and then I started, in order to edit, you need stuff to edit. So I started shooting short films and stuff so I could have things to edit. And then I kind of fell in love with directing and thought, why not? I'll try to go for it.
Very, very cool. Now, what attracted you to making this film, Breach, and how did it come together for you?
Well, when I got approached about it, I had worked with one of the producers, Danny Roth, before, and I spoke with him. I spoke with another producer, Corey Large, who was also a writer, and both really awesome guys. And, they mentioned the project, and Danny told me it had Bruce Willis in it, and I, grew up watching everything Bruce Willis and a huge fan of his work. So to have the opportunity to work with them, it felt like, couldn't pass it up. Yeah, for sure. Now, I was able to watch a screener for this film last night, and I really enjoyed it. I like the whole concept. It reminded me a lot of like Aliens and, a lot of the kind of James Cameron films from the later 80s, early 90s. It had that kind of feel. And I also really liked the cast. I thought it was really well cast. So you mentioned Bruce Willis. Obviously, he's the biggest star. How was it cast, and how did he come on board? And what was it like working with him? Again, he's as I say, he's such an icon. Having the opportunity was incredible, and he was a lot of fun on set. And we shot in this town, Fitzgerald, Georgia, with really awesome people, really great community. And so what I loved is that he seemed to enjoy it there as well, and he was taking pictures of a lot of people and talking to them, and so I think he made many people's day when he was there, and the rest of the cast is incredible. Obviously Thomas Jane and Cody and Rachel Nichols, is a really great cast and really fun to work with, and it was nice being in a small town. We also shot the whole movie in 15 days, so it was a very aggressive schedule. Wow. But we all, in the after hours, there was not that many places to go, so everybody kind of would hang out together with the cast and crew, and so that way it sort of felt like everybody was at camp or something. So it was fun. Yeah, that would be really interesting, especially hearing stories from Bruce Willis and Thomas Jane. Just yeah. I bet that was a fun experience for you. Really cool. I was looking at your IMDb page, and I saw that you also directed that short commercial, Die Hard is Back, for Die Hard batteries with Bruce. Did that happen around the same time as this? No, it didn't. So it's really is a funny thing of coincidence in that an agency I work with all the time, the marketing arm, I mostly do commercials, more so now. I started doing them about 4.5 years ago, when my second kid was born and trying to find a better work-life balance. And then I missed movies and keep making movies. But but I was approached by the agency with this spot. It was about, I think, 9 months or so after we wrapped Breach, and they're like, we've got this, Die Hard battery commercial, and I'm like, cool, and he's like, and you're gonna laugh. He's like, Bruce Willis is in it. I was like, oh my gosh. And so then I got to bid on it against other companies, and was really excited to get the opportunity to make it, and honored. But it actually came totally separately from the movie. So, but it was great to have another opportunity to work with them, in that sort of same within a year timeline.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy how that all worked out and how you got to work with him again, within that time period. That's pretty awesome. Fun. Yeah, sounds like it. So you mentioned the filming of this, you said it took place in about 15 days. How was that? Like, how long were the days of shooting and everything?
Well, we were good about not, basically keeping them to 12-hour days. Like, that was kind of the time we had. So for the most part, that they weren't much less and weren't over. That was kind of like we designed the days that way. And, but it is like with doing, having to accomplish all this stuff, especially having action beats and genre beats and all those things, it's a lot. It's a lot to shoot, and also just the sci-fi beats and visual effects and all those different things and the special effects, makeup gags. It was a lot of different moving parts. So, being organized and getting through it, we had to come up with a really solid plan, and then sort of everybody just had to be on their A game. And I really do think that was what was great about our crew and our cast. Everybody just showed up, ready to do it. And it's definitely, again, sort of very different than commercials in that when the day starts, you don't breathe again until the day's done. You're just like, on to the next, go, we gotta make it. It just feels like you're sprinting for the entire duration of the shoot. But I also really enjoy that because I think some sort of fun opportunities come out of that as well. For sure.
How did this compare to? I saw you also directed Cheap Thrills. How did this compare to that shoot? Like, what was the timeline for that movie? Was it a lot? Did you have a lot more time on that, or was it relatively?
Yeah, it's a great question. So actually, I produced Cheap Thrills, but E.L. Katz directed it. But so there's a different, wearing a bit of a different hat there. But yeah, that movie was a 14-day shoot, so it's even crazier. So very, it's a great one to bring up though, because it's a very similar vibe in that sense. Like, at that time we were doing a lot of like 20 and 25-day shoots, and then that was super low budget, and we did it as a 14-day shoot and shot mostly in order. So it was a very, very aggressive, go the whole time type of vibe, and I think that really fed the energy of that movie. So that's a great example of where I think it being a 14-day shoot on that film actually worked to its advantage, because like everybody was just like in it, and you're just going and getting revved up, and so there's definitely sometimes you can hone that energy and kind of try to bring it on screen, whereas when you have the luxury of 30 days or 50 days or 60 days, it's a lot more trying to just you get to be much more specific in how you approach it, but then you're also having to kind of keep everybody in it for a longer period of time. Right.
That's interesting. So you've been involved in a couple of these projects with a limited time frame, and the finished product, you can't, it doesn't suffer from just having the small shoots. So so do you have any upcoming projects that we should keep our eyes out for?
So right now I'm doing doing commercials mostly, but then I also have I'm potentially shooting a feature in the first half of next year. So but then other than that, just doing commercials.
Okay, that's exciting. So COVID's affected everybody in the industry, obviously. How has it affected you personally?
Well, one is I've learned a lot about things you learn in kindergarten and the second grade through virtual learning. So right. It affects me every day in that sense. The having to balance that and then I've also just sort of essentially been in the same room for 9 months. Our guest bedroom is kind of my office. So very good day that way. And then also whenever I've had shoots like the Die Hard is Back shoot, shooting that during COVID, it's just so different than how you would approach it. Not, we couldn't get anybody within 6 feet of each other, and we had to, rather than shooting a real advanced auto parts store for COVID safety, we built a whole store. There's a lot of things that you have to really think about everything differently with COVID when you're on production. So it's and I've been fortunate in that if that was my biggest complaints, I feel very lucky compared to I know some other people. It's affected them in a much more direct and bearable way. So.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely affected everybody, but we've seen some, promising things coming out. So hopefully this next year things will start to get back to relatively, more normal than they have been lately, and we're able to go to the theaters a lot more and everything
I
like
really
that.
miss
So,
that. That's probably the thing. Like when Tenet came out, I've seen it finally. I'm going to be able to see it like in a week or something. But I was so badly wanting to see Tenet, and it was like just killing me hearing it was out everywhere. Did come out in LA, but I also don't think I would have gone to a theater to watch it. But that was, I know it like came to a drive-in or something, but it just that to me it's just brutal. There's these movies, and there's these movies that you just want to see on the big screen.
right.
I can't wait till that's a thing again, like actually a thing.
Yeah, me either. I live in a relatively small town, so I was actually able to see it in a theater. There were only like 2 or 3 other people in the theater.
I've heard people doing that. I'm jealous.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the benefits to living in a small town. But yeah, once everything goes back to normal, I'm sure the theaters will come back strong, and everybody, all us movie junkies will be happier for it for sure.
Yes, absolutely. I can't wait.
Yeah. All right, John. Well, thank you very much for joining our podcast today. It's been a pleasure talking with you.
Likewise. Thanks so much for having me. I really enjoyed the conversation.